hit that like or the dislike, and hit the subscribe button. What's up, gang? It's Doomber. It's time for the second Rips and Sips of this morning, and we got a new Christian hate preacher, Ronnie Brown. And I'll start it like I always do, with a rip and a sip. I'll see you on the little screen.
I'll pay for that later, but I won't blame you. That's my wife, Carrie. We have 3 children. We're from Wildwood, Georgia, right outside of Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Right off the bat, let me start out with some personal information, tell you about my wife and my kids, and tell you that we're from this Wildwood, Georgia. And you see what that does is that makes me seem folksy and down home to you. And then you'll think, oh, well, he's just a nice guy with a wife and kids. He wouldn't dare lie to me about knowing shit about God.
And look at verse 1. We have heard with our ears, O God, our fathers have told.
Once again, they start with body parts doing things. Yes, you hear with your ears, and that's the only thing you hear with. And your heart pumps blood. So let's remember that. You do your ear hearing and your blood pumping with your heart.
For they got not into the land by their own sword, neither did their own arm save them, but by thy right hand.
Low energy, fake news.
Of thy countenance, because thou hast a favor unto them. Let's go to the Lord in prayer and let's preach a fitting sermon on how in the world did I get here. Billy Sampson gave me some.
Oh, let's do, Ronnie. Let's go to the Lord in prayer and ask him to change his divine plan for us.
How in the world did I get here? Let's go to the Lord in prayer.
Your parents had sex, Ronnie. It's not that hard.
We pray that our worship this morning has been a sweet savor in your nostrils. That the fruit of
Sweet savor in your nostrils. I don't think you're wording right, Randy or Ronnie, whatever the fuck your dumb white trash name is.
God, we pray that you give us ears to hear, illuminate our eyes to the scriptures.
Once again, Lord, I would like to ask you for the correct blend of word salad and the right spices of racism and ignorance to lull my congregation almost to sleep, but not quite, to where they're just kind of in and out of consciousness, listening to the dumb words that come out of my mouth. And Lord, I'd ask you to let them empty their pockets of their hard-earned money into the golden plate that we pass around, Lord.
Amen. You can be seated.
All right, gang. So thus far from what I can tell, old Ronnie Brown's tactic, his strategy seems to be to tell long-winded personal stories about his family and going to church and all this bullshit and moving and all this stuff as just a buffer, as filler. There's no real message so far. It's just him giving these personal stories to emotionally manipulate, once again, and lull his audience into trusting him because he's just a good old boy, right?
Different places. And so I remember one time when I was moving between different houses, I was in Atlanta, I was living in Dorville, and I was moving to Marietta. This was a Wednesday night. And I remember we got in from church Wednesday night, and I began to pack stuff up. And I slept that night in.
Now I'm going to tell you very specifics about my story. Like I was moving from Atlanta or Dorfield, and I was moving to Chester, and then it was a Wednesday because I remember because I came home from church. It was Wednesday, and I was doing all these things. Had my kids with me because I'm a good old boy. I'm just a good old dad.
Different place. I was in Dorville. I spent the night in Marietta that night. So I spent the next day. I think it was Friday.
Just a fast-talking Southern boy. I just walk around. Tell you, I was in Dorfield. I was over here in Marietta. I was down there. I got 2 canoes, right? I got 2 canoes tied to a fire hydrant and 9 pelicans in them. Nine pelicans. They need some red snapper fish to eat.
And so I get in my car, packed me a bag, and I headed up to Chattanooga. And so that night I got in real late at night. It was dark. I didn't go wake mom and daddy up. And so I just come on in the house. They had a key out there. I had a key at the time. They don't give me a key no more. They took my keys.
Now, I'm just going to keep talking fast. Don't you worry about what the fuck I'm saying. I'm going to tell you personal details about my story. I ran down there to my daddy and my mama's house, and I went in. They didn't know I was there. I had a key. They leave me a key. You know, they put one under the doormat or whatever the fuck. I got one. It don't matter because I'm pulling this out of my ass and showing it to you right now.
To a strange city and a strange walk. My mom and daddy painted the room different while I was gone. And I opened my eyes, and honest to goodness, I had no idea where I was. I'd been in 3 or 4 places on the previous day.
And it sounds like you were just drunk and sleeping one off there, fucking Ronnie. Was you out butt chugging White Claws with the boys?
Where in the world am I? Listen, when the psalmist here writes this song, it's during a time of great calamity.
Does anyone else detect that Ronnie Brown was the fucking hyper kid in class? He was the one fucking running around eating chalk and pounding erasers and shit. Like, this dude has got up, ran over to this side of the stage, come down front, sits down in a pew, gets back up, goes up behind the pulpit, runs around some more, tells you some more stories about him moving shit to fucking Atlanta or Garfield or Chester or wherever the fuck he's from, Marietta. Do you hear what the fuck he said? I want to uncover what God has covered. Well, if God covered it up, what are you trying to uncover it for? And then he says he covered it, and I uncovered it, and I uncovered it. This dude's mouth is moving faster than his brain is moving, and he don't know what the fuck he's saying.
Look at what he says in verse 3. For they got not the land in possession of their own sword, neither did their own arm.
I think you got caught in the possession of them there Georgia swamp crystals there, fucking Ronnie.
And the lifeline countenance, it's the power of God that got them.
This seems like somewhat of one of them there glass pipe fallacies, Ronnie.
Exodus, and you look at Joshua, and you read those books, I mean, it's cover to cover with the power of God in it. I mean, from the plagues down in Egypt to the parting of the Red Sea to the provision in the
Dude, they are seriously going to have to fucking scrape Ronnie off the goddamn ceiling at the end of this fucking sermon. He is running around like a fucking maniac. He's going down like this and grabbing his head, and he's running around. He's going downstairs and upstairs. Like, this motherfucker is all theatrics. He's just waving his hands and running around and watch this hand while I do this and watch this hand while I do this. Oh, look over here. What's going on? Oh, it's Ronnie. He's moving back to Atlanta. Woo! Yeah, baby.
not the land in possession by their own sword. They got not the land. This is the reality of their powerlessness. They didn't have no power. They didn't have no power. You're talking about a people that have spent the last couple hundred years being slaves. They don't train slaves.
The Exodus did not happen, Ronnie. That is an inaccurate account. The more you know.
You see, they weren't prepared for this. They were powerless. They didn't know what they was doing. But it wasn't the might of their sword. It wasn't the temper of the steel in that sword. It wasn't the sharpness of their sword. It wasn't how many push-ups they can do and how prepared they were for battle.
Yeah, you know, training, physical fitness, that type of shit, that doesn't mean anything. It just matters if you're thinking the right thoughts.
They were just a bystander. They were just a bit along for the ride. I've been riding around with know, Billy Simpson for the past few days, and I've just been sitting in the back seat. I'm just along for the ride, man. Take me where you want to go. I ain't got nothing to do with this. Billy, you want to show me something? Well, you just point the way. I'm just along for the ride. That's what they were. Just along for they were powerless.
All right, gang. That manic clusterfuck of a human being is Ronnie Brown. And we've got plenty of that fucking asshole to come. So I'm going to leave you like I always do, with a rip and a sip. Peace out, gang.